Before you could slip the right hand, ask yourself one thing: where am I? Then start thinking position. My name is Mike Taylor, and I've created a boxing newsletter focused around partner drills. And I want to answer your question so you could start creating boxing partner drills too. And so this week I had two interesting questions. First, next round bivol, he asked, can you explain how to slip the rear cross when someone throws it without telegraphing it? And so the thing that we need to figure out is where you are, meaning if your starting point is with your head and weight towards your rear foot, think bladed stance, then to slip it, you could rotate your shoulders and hips to a squared stance. And the reason why this works is because they're attacking where you are, not where you're going. So on that same beat, they're throwing that rear hand, you're moving your head to your lead foot. Easy enough. Now, you could also move in 45, meaning your head and weight move from your rear foot to your lead foot diagonally 45 degrees. And note, my hips rotate into that squared stance. So hips are towards my opponent. So two things to think about. They're attacking where you are, not where you're going, and you're moving on the same beat. And since you're moving on the same beat, that means you're anticipating that rear cross. Now let's switch it up and say your starting point is with your head and weight over your lead foot, meaning your hips are already squared to your opponent. Well, in that case, you're already in because you're squared. So how could you slip? Well, you could bob, which is a waist bend over that lead foot, or you could drop 45, which is a waist bend to your open side. And so it depends on where you are relative to your opponent. Then that will tell you which options are available. And since you're moving on the same beat, that means you would need to pick up some pattern recognition from your opponent so you're anticipating when that rear cross is coming. The second question was from Dr. Oddball, love it. He asked, can you go over other situations where it'd be better to pull square than pull bladed and vice versa? And so there was this article written up about Archie Moore. In it, he talks about something called escapology. And he had a quote where he said, I try to build a bridge with each punch so I can escape if something goes wrong. I'll drop a link in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out. Highly recommend it. And that's the thing that popped in my head when I read that question. So I think both patterns are completely fine. The key is knowing your next sequence in your pattern. So let's talk through that. Now, notice my head and shoulders are squared over my lead foot. Now, if you stand up and do this, you'll notice how far back your head travels when you pull square. It should end up somewhere between your lead foot and rear foot if you're balanced. Now, let's compare that to pulling bladed. So similarly, my head is over my lead foot, squared stance. I'll rotate my shoulders and hips to a bladed stance all the way back to my rear foot. Now, here's something to chew on. When you do this, you'll realize your head can pull further away from your opponent in a bladed stance than a squared stance. And that would also mean it takes more time for your head to travel all the way back to your rear foot in a bladed stance. So let's run through a scenario. Let's say my opponent is baiting me with his head over his lead foot in a squared stance, and I commit my jab. He pulls square, rebounds off that rear foot with a rear straight. Now, something to hone in on, check out how he would rebound. Again, notice these square shoulders, but zero in on my rear foot. When he pulls square, he's going to push off the toe of that rear foot and catch me with that rear straight. Okay, let's set this up again. He's baiting me, head over this lead foot, but now this time I feint my jab. I didn't commit. Well, he pulls, rebounds off that rear foot for that rear hand counter, but this time, since I feinted my jab, I could catch him coming in with my lead counter. Think check hook. Okay, let's compare that to a bladed pull. Again, baited me, head over that lead foot, I commit my jab, he pulls bladed, rebounds, catches me. Now, one thing to remember in this sequence, since he pulled bladed, it would have taken him more time to pull all the way to that rear foot than if he pulled square. And that brings me back to Archie Moore and the word escapology. And so because it took him longer, maybe I have more time to drop 45 to get under that rear straight. Because I realized something was wrong. I committed my jab, something went wrong, I dropped 45. Okay, finally, set it up one more time, baiting me head over that lead foot. This time I feint my jab, he pulls bladed, and because of that extra time it takes to get all the way to his rear foot, he realized something is wrong and he bails. Instead he drops because I didn't commit my jab, meaning he realized something was wrong because I was trying to counter his counter with a counter.